Eureka! I have finally solved the problem that, admittedly, probably very few people have ever actually had, but I've solved it nonetheless. And it's with prayer beads. Now, I love mala beads or traditional prayer beads just as much as the next guy, but I don't always use them in the typical fashion. Here's a set, for instance, that I use during divination. But the number 108 isn't always super convenient for me, and with mala beads, there's usually 108 beads. I need to be able to keep track of prayers or chants at different intervals. So I'm going to do something revolutionary, something that probably no human has ever conceived of prior to this moment. I'm going to string a different number of beads. I'm going to make the witch's prayer beads. Here, let me show you the prototype that I sketched. My apologies, I accidentally sent it through the washing machine in the pocket of my jeans, but luckily, the information is still intact. There's obviously lots of different ways to accomplish this. I had a couple of ideas, but I'm settling on this one on the right, where there are larger beads to delineate certain numbers that are significant to me, specifically 3, 7, 9, and 21. Those are pretty witchy numbers. Alright, I'm going to make this, so stick around for some high-speed footage of me stringing beads, and then we'll talk about what to do with it. Okay, there are many different ways to string prayer beads. If you want to keep it simple, you can just throw everything on one string. If you want to do something more complicated, you can tie knots in between each bead. The technique I'm going to use today will actually start in the center of the string, which will kind of divide a left and right side, which will end up mirroring each other. And honestly, it's just going to be way easier to show you. Instead of string, I'm using some pretty standard beading wire just because I find that it's a little less likely to break. I've also got some small to medium-sized black jasper beads, some larger rose quartz beads that I'll be using as dividers, some tiny little metal spacers, and one decorative leather tassel thing that will go right in the center. I'll be finishing everything up with crimping pliers and a couple of crimp beads, and I'll post links to all of these things in the video description, so if for some reason you want to follow along at home exactly, you can do so. My piece of beading wire, by the way, is probably about 3 or 4 feet long. That's plenty to work with, and it's going to leave me a lot of excess to cut off at the end, but I'd rather have too much than too little. To start off, the hole in my leather tassel is way bigger than my beading wire, so I'm going to kind of compensate for that by surrounding it with a few of my metal spacer beads. I want the tassel to be centered on the wire, then I'm going to gather up both ends and feed them through a few beads at the same time. And this will very clearly give me a left and right side of the strand to work with later. Oh, hey, and if you don't want to watch me do all this meticulous beading work and you'd rather just see the final product, just click the next chapter marker and jump to that section. That's what they're there for. By the way, while you're clicking, it wouldn't be so bad to click the subscribe button too, would it? I know, crazy idea. Just saying, think about it. I like to use a beading tray like this for a number of reasons. Number 1, I'm really bad at counting beads. Number 2, some of these beads are just so tiny that if you drop them, they actually go through some sort of temporal vortex and completely disappear from space-time. You will never find them again. And number 3, on a project like this, when I'm doing 2 even sides, I can lay them both out and make sure that they match before I string them. Alright, I'm making some really good progress here, and it is at this point I'd like to remind you that if you have sketched something, or you have a very specific design in mind, it's a really good idea to actually pay attention to that design, because somewhere around this moment, I realized that I have completely been neglecting to put my rose quartz beads on the strand. I was thinking like, hey, I'm almost done. And then immediately I was like, oh no, I have to basically start over. So watch me undo all of my hard work, and then I'm going to pretty much start over doing it the correct way. That's another reason a beading tray is nice to have, because you can use it to easily de-string all your beads, but keep the correct order. But nothing is really different in technique or anything, so we can just blaze right through all of that. Sometimes I'll run out of beads and I'll have to add more to the beading tray. Sometimes I'll lay all my beads out and then I'll count them and then count them again because I was unsure if I counted correctly the first time. And then eventually it all comes together. I'm going to finish this off with one of my rose quartz beads. I'll take the left strand of my wire, feed it through the left side of this bead, and then I'll take the right strand of my wire and feed it through the right side of this bead. So I'll have a strand coming out each side of the bead, and if I pull those strands, it will actually make the necklace really tight. But there's a catch. I'm going to have a crimp bead on each side of that rose quartz so that I can finish and keep everything together permanently. Which, of course, I forgot I need to string the crimp beads on first, but that's okay. Quick redo. The way these crimp beads work is with a special pair of pliers that have two different slots. The first slot kind of puts a divot or dent in the middle of the bead. The second slot lets you fold the bead in half around the dent. When you squish it all down, it usually holds really, really well. And then they have these cover beads that are almost like clamshells that you can wrap around them to make it look prettier. Cool. I think I'm happy with this. What do you guys think? Here's the finished product. Don't I look stylish? And of course, aside from wearing it as a necklace, I could also use it for its intended purpose of counting chants. For instance, let's say that I want to chant something 7 times. So I'll just go to my second section here, and I will move my finger across one bead for each time I say the chant until I get to the larger bead at the end. It'll go something like this. I am one with the force and the force is with me. I am one with the force and the force is with me. I am one with the force and the force is with me. I am one with the force and the force is with me. I am one with the force and the force is with me. I am one with the force and the force is with me. I am one with the force and the force is with me. See, now in addition to just being a witch, I'm also a Jedi. You could change this design so that the larger beads mark off different numbers that are significant to you and your practice. Just have fun with it and try not to take things too seriously. But before you get started chanting, fun fact for you. According to my analytics, 98% of people that watch my content are not subscribed to my channel. If you're one of those people, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button here on YouTube. It really helps me out. However, if you're one of the 2% that are subscribed, thank you. I appreciate you. You're awesome. Stick around, watch something else. I think YouTube wants you to go over here or something. Just remember, there's always a way to make prayer beads. Wait, that's not how I usually sign off. Wait,